Transmission request from Ambrose Manor.
Captain! Imagine my surprise when I saw the Unreliable leaving Gorgon with so much urgency and purpose. Tell me you found Mother's journal. I'm positively dying for good news. Too bad. But on the bright side, you've outdone my old freelancer. I don't think you made it very far at all. If I know Spacer's Choice, getting past the lockdown will be more complicated than just hitting a big red button. You'll need authorization, and layers of it. I seem to recall that Mother worked closely with Gorgon's R&D personnel, but not close enough to invite them over for dinner and cocktails, if you get my meaning. By now, they'll have moved on with their lives. If only I could do the same. I knew Mother was involved with some important chemical trials, but I had no idea her pet project was adrenatime. Adrenatime is a working man's stimulant, like a caffeinoid. Very popular at launch, though the marketing quieted down over time. What? No. I mean, there's some very morbid wording in the fine print, but I had no idea Adrenatime could make marauders out of people. That's it. That must be it. Spacer's Choice is keeping their dirty little secret about Adrenatime off the record. We have to find Mother's journal. If we don't, then Spacer's Choice gets away with murder. I only hope we aren't too late. Adrenatime was touted as the working man's best friend, a drug that boosted productivity with no adverse effects. The promise of Adrenatime cannot be overstated. Exhaustion and fatigue were supposed to be obsolete. Workplace accidents would be things of the past. For whatever reason, the drug never lived up to that promise. I don't know. And thanks to Spacer's Choice, we may never find out. I know that I'd like to see a colony where the promise of Adrenatime was fulfilled. And I doubt I'm the only one. Thank you. I certainly ought to know what I'm doing. I spent years trying to break into pharmaceuticals, professionally speaking. Mother wouldn't hear of it. She didn't think I had the wit to succeed in her line of work. Safe travels. If your leads give you any trouble, be sure and give them some trouble back, yes? Ta!
What?
Here they come!
No, prisoner!
Don't hurt
Please don't hurt me. Please what? What was that?
Hey, I know your face. You're wanted by the board. Wow. You're a living, breathing outlaw. That is, until security outside gets their eyes on you, but let's not spoil the moment. If you're here for the annual Canid review, I'm afraid it's already over. Only thing going on behind those doors is good, old-fashioned lawful behavior. This greeting constitutes your confidentiality agreement. You hereby agree not to disclose the location or existence of these events. Thank you for cooperating. Oh, that's just so encouraging to hear. I'll just go ahead and add your comment to my permanent record. Now then, how can I help you? Mr. Mostly is indeed attending our event, although I am disappointed to discover he did not officially enter his canid La Place into our competition. You should find Mr. Mostly just inside the prep room. Head inside and take the door to your left.
Oh, just hear me out.
Do you know the interesting thing about canid shows? Good instincts. Mathematically speaking, the interesting thing about canid shows is this. They're an exercise in futility. Winning is predetermined. Over time, the inevitable trend is that the race goes to the swift. Time and chance are just statistical outliers. In other words, if you put enough canids through enough trials, the one with the most optimal attributes generally wins. Exercise in futility. Oh, I've been told I should try to socialize more. Sharing an interesting fact is a proven method of endearing oneself to a stranger. I'm an actuary, you see. Well, not entirely. The actuarial sciences are more of a passion than a profession. So I suppose that makes me mostly an actuary. That's a bit of a family joke. I'm Clarence Mostly. Oh. Then you're not here about my monograph. It's true, I was involved with Project Gorgon, but that chapter of my life is long since closed. Listen, I don't know what you want with Gorgon or with me, but let me give you some free advice, Let the past go. Live in the moment. Enjoy the party. Lifting the lockdown won't be easy. You'll need to send overrides from the chem lab and human inquiry. I don't have that level of clearance, but I know 2 people who do. The trouble is, I don't know you. I don't trust you. I washed my hands of Gorgon, and you're asking me to dirty them all over again. I'm going to need a good reason. Why are you going through all of this trouble for a journal? Actually, don't tell me. I'd like to maintain plausible deniability. I want a favor from you. Do something for me, and I'll do something for you. That way, we don't have to rely on mutual trust. A grand prize trophy to the Canid Review. I want it in my hands. Get me that trophy, and I'll give you the remaining researchers. Names, locations, as much information as I have. What, really? You'll do it? I mean, just like that? Don't you want to know why I asked you? Head into the main hall and take the elevator down into the maintenance tunnels. You'll find a service passage that leads up into the trophy room. The maintenance tunnel is the only way up into the trophy room. Some technician barred the door shut on our end. Ask Tilda Coatsworth about it, over by the podium.
It's not canid hunting I object to.
Oh, clever.
Making it look easy.
Oh. Incoming! This game.
That's the last of them. Hell of a job.
You don't have to be scared of these canids, Captain. I don't think they're gonna hurt you.
Never cared much for hors d'oeuvres. The word is just grotesque. All those superfluous letters ruin my appetite. My trophy! Look at this thing! Have you ever seen a more garish monument to the boredom of the elite? If only Grandfather Mostly were alive today, I would have loved to wave this trophy right in front of his cataracts. I hope you won't take it personally when I say I had my doubts about you. Nothing ever gets done in Byzantium, you see. Competent work is, well, a statistical anomaly. Lifting the emergency lockdown requires overrides from the Chem Lab and Human Inquiry. Access to those facilities requires authorizations from 2 senior-level researchers, Marion Blakesley, Jasper Lowe. They went into hiding after the project collapsed, but I've managed to calculate their last known whereabouts within a reasonable margin of error. I see you're familiar with my technique. I'd love to show you my numbers, but there aren't nearly enough napkins in this room. After the project shut down, I had to keep my mind occupied. I worked on my actuarial tables, calculated the average lifespan of a spacer's choice worker, that sort of thing. I realized some of the researchers had to be alive. I ran some numbers, did a little research, and concluded that the 2 most likely survivors are Marion Blakesley and Jasper Lowe. As far as I know, Jasper Lowe and Marion Blakesley are the only 2 surviving researchers with high-level clearance. If you want to lift the lockdown on the manufactory, you'll need to send an override from the Chem Lab and Human Inquiry. I'm afraid it's the only way. I'll tell you what I can. Dr. Marion Blakesley supervised the Human Inquiry and Auditing Facility. Live subjects, measuring tape and syringes, that sort of thing. Someone sabotaged the facility. Blakesley tendered her resignation and vanished. I'm reasonably certain she's hiding in a maintenance bay on Groundbreaker. Well, with Spacer's choice equipment, who even knows? Dr. Blakesley tendered her resignation lawfully, but under suspicious circumstances. If you want to know more, you'd best ask her yourself. Dr. Lowe described himself as a dazzling genius in his review. I disagreed. Of the 19 criteria that constitute the rubric of genius, Dr. Lowe only met 15. After the project shut down, corporate traded him off to Auntie Cleo in exchange for 5 lab coats. He's been transferred to an orbital lab around Olympus. Oh dear. How do I explain this without using too many syllables? Lab coats means scientists. It's a colloquial... It's slang. Let's get back on topic. You'll find Dr. Lowe in an orbital lab around Olympus. Certainly. What's on your mind? My eye! I was wondering where I'd misplaced that old thing. It's perfectly preserved, you know. Every eye possesses unique dimensions, not unlike a fingerprint. The circumference, the shape, the color of the iris. An eye makes excellent proof of identification, assuming you don't mind removing one. I'd rather not get into the details. If Spacer's Choice ever asks you to test out their new model of monocle, just say no. Well, that's rather responsible of you. I'll put a good word in your permanent record. Yes? Let's try to keep it down, shall we? At least pretend we're being discreet? There's not a lot about Project Gorgon I can tell you. I know that's not what you wanted to hear, but I closed that chapter in my life. I've moved on. Look, don't tell anyone I said this. But if there's anything I've learned by living in Byzantium, it's this. If you go looking for the truth, you are looking for trouble. All right. Ask your questions. And then if you don't mind, don't mention Project Gorgon anywhere near me again. Minnie Ambrose. Oh, Olivia's brat. Ambitious, but like the rest of her family, irrelevant. She tried following her mother's example, failed, and if she ever tried again, I couldn't tell you. The name Ambrose doesn't mean anything to me anymore, or to anyone halfway respectable. The Ambroses are, how do I put this politely, obsolete? A family's name is only as strong as its enterprise. The Musgraves have Rizzos, and the Schuyler's have Auntie Cleo, and so we show those names the respect they deserve. The Ambrose name was associated with Project Gorgon. The project died, and so the Ambrose name died with it. That's just the way the game is played. Project Gorgon was designed to change the life of every worker on Halcyon. We weren't just building a product, we were trying to build a society. How many workers call Halcyon their home? What do they eat and when? How long do they sleep? How hard do they work? What are their most productive years? When do their organs begin to fail? That's the nature of my work. I study human life in order to determine its value. Jewelers appraise diamonds, and I appraise people. It's complicated. I'll be honest, I didn't join Project Gorgon because I wanted to satisfy my intellectual curiosity. I was courting the daughter of a Spacer's Choice family. We were a mathematically congruent match, you see. I had the proofs all written out and everything. I see you've been in the same situation. Yes, she wasn't impressed by my absolute value. After she made her feelings clear, I left the project.